Hey everybody, it's Kristen Smedley back with another one of our super fun interviews here on Thriving Blind. I have the incredible opportunity today to talk to Alexandria Knox, or Alex, as she's my new pal, and that's what I'm going to call her, Alex, from New Hampshire. And I don't do the big bio and go through everybody's background when we jump into this show because I like to explore that and have all those details come out as we talk. I'm actually, as I was hitting record, we were chatting so much before this even came on. I forgot to ask how I bumped into or met Alex, and I think it was simply from social media. Am I right?
Yes.
That's where I found you? See,
Yes.
when you live and breathe on social media to get your message out there, you tend to find some really cool people. So anybody that's out there knocking Facebook, guess what? That's how we met, and now we're going to have this. I could not wait for this chat because I watched the stuff that you're doing on Facebook, and even honestly, just from the messages, when we were messaging back and forth on Facebook, Alex does these audio messages that I'm like, I have got to start doing that because you have your personality just comes through in the audio message as opposed to just typing. So I'm like, all right, that's a goal of mine. I'm going to figure that one out. So anyway, so Alex, thank you so much for joining us here on Thriving Blind. And why don't you
Absolutely.
introduce yourself?
Great. Thank you for having me. So I'm Alexandria Knox. I live here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and I'm currently running for the New Hampshire State House for the 2020 elections.
So cool. We have a candidate on on the show. Look at that. I didn't even realize that when I was first getting in touch with you and all that kind of stuff. So you're running, tell us a little bit about the position that you're running for and the whole, like, not the entire, we don't need your whole journey. You could probably talk for hours of how that came to be, but a little bit about it.
Sure. So what motivated me to run for public office was I come from a family with a strong military background, and I've always really felt the call to serve as they did, and I really wanted to find that path to service. So
Mhm.
politics is giving me that path to serve others because as I was born with complete vision loss due to prematurity, the military was not an option for me, so I really just wanted to get involved in serving my country, my state, and my community. So I first started out as a professional musician performing for veterans in an honor guard. I was their bugler in North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, 2007, 2008. And they got a new commander, so I moved from that. And then I was active in the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I moved to War Road, Minnesota, and I was working there, volunteering with the Coast Guard. Then I moved to Savannah to serve with the air station there as a volunteer, and I did a little bit with the Civil Air Patrol, helping their cadets. And then I continued performing as a musician, as a solo bagpiper. Well, first, let me go back. I started touring at 17 as a musician. I was a percussionist and bugler, and I'll tell you, drum and bugle corps changed my life. My mom was like, okay, you want to go on tour? You can absolutely go on tour. She put me on the plane, and I went. First, I went to Georgia, and then she put me on a plane to Canada in 2018, and I toured with that a drum and bugle corps there, and I just
Wow.
kept touring. Yeah, until like
Wait,
years
how old
ago.
were you for that?
I was 17 when I started touring.
Oh my God, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was
Parents everywhere are
amazing.
going, wait a minute, wait a minute. They're bracing themselves on a
Oh yeah.
plane.
Yes, I live with different host families. I'd say throughout my life, I lived with 20 or so different host families. So I got a lot of different cultural experiences. So that really got me inspired performing as a musician. And then I toured in 2013 was my last year on tour as a soloist. I performed in La Crosse, Wisconsin, Knoxville, Tennessee, Baltimore,
Wow.
Maryland, and Philadelphia.
Okay, so
So
now
that
I'm a
was,
Philly girl, so I'm going to ask you this. Was that your favorite city? No, I'm just kidding. What was your
oh
favorite
no,
city?
well
Do you have
actually
one?
do I have a favorite city? Well, as far as being on tour, Portsmouth is pretty awesome, but I do have to say what my favorite. Oh, there were so many great ones. I would say Philly was pretty cool because of the history. I didn't get to stay
Yeah.
long enough to see that, but really good history there.
Canada. I just went
So,
to Canada for the first time ever. I've never left the
oh
country.
my gosh.
I'm 47. I had to
Wow.
get a
Oh
passport
my gosh.
for the first time ever. Went to Canada. It was gorgeous.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
back in that day, they were really less strict. I don't know. Back then it was really nice. But so then in 2014, I really noticed that to me things in the country weren't really going the way that I wanted to, so I wanted to help. So I started volunteering with my first campaign. And until then, I'd never thought about running for office. But then all those campaigns that I started volunteering and interning with, I said, I can do this. So I I ran for alderman in 2015 in Manchester. I was living in Manchester at the time. And then I ran for a competitive primary in 2016 for state representative in that same district. And then I took a year off. I went to different conferences in Texas. My family retired in Texas, so I went, spent a summer there, learned a lot. And then I said, I miss New Hampshire. I need to come home. So I got so fortunate to move to Portsmouth. Everybody wants to live in Portsmouth, and I got fortunate to find a place.
That is incredible. That I've
Thank
never
you.
been to New Hampshire. I've heard that it's absolutely gorgeous up there.
It is,
Friends
yeah.
of mine from here in the Philly area vacation up there. They love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we
So
have a lot of
all
good
that
skiing
travel,
and
oh, let me
all
ask you
that
this.
travel.
I'm
Yeah,
picturing you traveling all over and
sure.
independently getting on planes and all that. Are you a cane user or guide dog user or both?
So for me, I choose not to use a cane or a dog because I'm so thankful and fortunate to live in such a wonderful, supportive community that I find I love the social aspect of walking with others, and it's safer too. Being a young woman, it's just
Mhm.
safer. I prefer it, you know. But it's up to each one of you that's listening that has this challenge to make that choice for yourself.
I love that. I love that. And I love that you said, because before we came on camera, I was saying that it's a lot of parents and teachers tune into this, but I love that you said it's up to the individual. Us
Yes,
parents and
absolutely.
teachers can, I always say that my role as a mom of two blind kids is to get them every tool and resource. And then it's up
Right.
to them to choose what works for them. So that you're the first person that has said that, that it really is up to the individual. I love it.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. And I forget who I was talking to in my book that talked about the dog using a guide dog because it was a social it helped him socially because he didn't
Hmm.
he I have to remember who that was because he went blind later
Yeah.
and was saying that it was hard for him social, but then once he got a dog, then that was helping him with a social barrier. And I love that
Yeah.
you talked about the social piece too, because that really
Hmm.
is a struggle even in raising blind children, to teach them about socializing. There's a lot of unanswered questions and strategies people just don't have yet to teach the kids how to get through these social barriers. So that's a wonderful one.
Yeah, and I was really fortunate to have been raised to never dwell or really focus on the fact that I can't see. So my family never treated me any differently. I was the only child. So I was just, this is a world that can see this. I'm in this world. I'm basically, they taught me, you get up every day and you say to yourself, what can I do to serve others and to serve my community? So it's taking that focus off of my challenge. It's being able to say, yes, I face this challenge, but it's also being able to inspire others and say, I can and I am rising above this challenge.
I absolutely love everything you just said. Do you know what's funny?
Thank
My
you.
Michael, who's now 19, he was away at college for his first year, and then he came home for all of 5 minutes and went up to Boston with his band, and they were recording an album. And there was a conversation between him and I think the dad of the guy who they were staying with. And
Mhm.
Michael said, the guy said something. Michael's like, "What are you talking about?" And then he says to the dad, "Oh, I always forget that people can see." Like,
Oh, yeah,
he forgets the people, like he just just like you, the blindness and all that is so in the background of his life. It's not anything he focuses on. It's just
absolutely.
and rising above and going on to do what you want. Now you talked about how, and I love this, that your parents never said that there was any kind of limit, that you were just, blindness wasn't an issue, we're just going to go do whatever you
Absolutely.
want.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever, I don't know if you've ever met Kathy Nimmer. She's in the book, and she was Teacher of the Year in Indiana a few years ago. And I had asked her, you sound so much like her that I have to introduce you guys, because I had asked her in the interviews for the book what do you think, what did you think growing up about the big, the statistics of unemployment in the blind community? And she said, she sounds so much like you, because she said, my parents never told me. I didn't
Right,
know all the
absolutely.
hurdles. I didn't know there were challenges.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, and they stick to that same number, and I think that's just the problem. They stick to, I think it's 70, 80, whatever the number is. It never changes. And I think that's what, as a lawmaker, even if I could help in New Hampshire, is we need to open more opportunities, not through government, but through through the free market and through individuals, to empower people with disability, to say you're not limited to a Social Security check every month. You're not limited to anything every month. You can be whatever you want to be. I think it's just taking that focus off of the disability and saying, you are a whole person already. Young people, if you're listening, let me tell you, you are not broken. You are amazing. You are, you can use your challenge to inspire others. Never let anyone else control your narrative, and never let anyone define you by your challenge.
I love it. I absolutely love it. You're like a walking tweetable. I have so
Thank
many
you.
things that I can tweet out, but that's the exact message that I put all of this work together for. Because, I'm watching, everyone had already said to me, why do your boys go about life with, they don't get that there are people putting limitations. They don't see any
Yeah.
boundaries, they don't, and
Mhm.
barriers. And I credit it to them. Michael, my oldest, met Eric Weihenmayer when he was 6. And totally opened his perception. He's never seen, I mean, Eric had just come off Mount Everest as a totally blind person. So he met someone just like him that just climbed Everest. He never saw a limit to his life. And you now saying that for the younger kids that are going through life with a visual impairment, it's the same thing. They
Mhm.
don't need to, because so many of us we're always putting limits on all of our kids, right?
Yep. Limits and labels. And I think one of the problems we're having in society is the labels we're putting on people. If we could just one day, I would love to see a world where there are no labels and we're all just seen as the people we are and the people that we can be.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? And my
Yes.
boys do talk about, when I ask, I ask all the time, because I'm one of those more optimistic, let's focus on the positive, even when things are crashing down. Where can we
Yeah.
find a goodness here? And so we always
Mm-hmm.
talk about perks in the horrible
Yeah.
situation, but what are the perks? And in the blind perks, they talk about, they don't judge a person, what they look like, where they come from. Theirs all comes from, they can tell a person more of their spirit and their soul and what they're really like just in an introduction in the first couple of minutes of talking to them, because they don't have all the biases that sighted folks have. They're not making judgment
Right.
bias.
Absolutely. And I would say one of the really neat parts about office and not be able to see so much is that I get to go door to door, and I don't have to worry about what someone's wearing, what they look like. I'm just
Hmm.
here running to represent all constituents. And I remember in 2016, I would one of the volunteers that was with me, I said, let's go to this neighborhood. They're like, well, that's, it looks kind of like there's a lot of dogs and stuff. I'm like, we can do this, and I'm not seeing all the stuff, all the steps and all that. So I would go to places that nobody else would, because I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's just an adventure, and I want to reach out to all. My goal for this race is we have about 4,000 constituents that I'm running to represent. I want to reach every door regardless of party, because I'm running to serve everyone. And yeah, that is great. And for
Wow.
me, what the cool thing is I don't understand the concept of racism, because I was in a bugle corps called Spirit of New Jersey, and I was told that all the other members were African American, and I'm like, so I'm the only white kid, okay? I don't know what that means. Color to me doesn't mean anything except when
Yeah.
I'm getting dressed. So
When I'm getting dressed, then it's a
so
little important, match the clothes.
yeah, absolutely.
Not that kids in middle school or later elementary school care anymore. I used to
Right.
say to Michael, you need to, and Mitchell, you need to look presentable. You need to figure out your clothes. I don't want, people thinking, oh, because he can't see, he can't match his clothes. And we worked a lot on
Absolutely.
things like that. And then I went to the middle school one day and I was like, what do I care what you look like? Because none of these sighted kids care what they look like. They're a mess.
Oh, that's so funny.
I grew up in Catholic school. You had to have everything ironed, and then I go into public school and I'm like, what is happening here?
I know. Well, and a
Anyway.
lot of times you're judged even more, especially me since I'm running, people assume certain things because of certain challenges. So it's
Mhm.
just part of the process, so I always make sure I look really professional.
Oh, that's perfect. Now, outside of work and the passion
Mhm.
for your work, what other kinds of things do you just like to do?
Sure. So I really enjoy skiing. I should. It's New Hampshire is one of our
Oh,
biggest
yeah.
industries. I love skiing. I love ice skating. I love going to eat. I love traveling. Gosh, there's so many things. I love to go shopping. Pretty
Now,
much
when you hold
anything
on, let's back
different.
up and go to skiing. Do you
Yeah,
ski with a guide?
sure. I do.
Okay. Yeah, we did. My
Yeah.
boys love
So,
skiing too. They're way better at it than I am.
oh, awesome. Yeah, I love it. It just, to me, it just character building, and I love every part of it.
Okay, and then I cut you off towards the end there with the other stuff that you're into. So traveling and
Mhm.
going out to eat,
Yeah,
fantastic.
pretty
Oh,
much
so if you
anything.
love going out to eat, you must have really enjoyed travel because you got to
Yes,
sample all
I
the
got to
different
eat
kinds of
all.
foods.
Yeah, I got to eat everything, and that was really awesome. So that was one of my favorite parts. Besides performing in front of people, that's always fun too. But pretty much anything different. I'm in a club, and we try to meet once a month, and we do different things. Like what we do? They had fencing one time. Had museum, a trip to Boston. So just anything out of the ordinary, I love doing. And going to the beach, of course, here in Portsmouth. The beach is right here. So
Oh, that's fantastic. I took the boys and my daughter and I learned how to surf years ago. And
well, that's awesome.
it was my oldest son that taught me when to ride a wave. 'Cause I could not figure
Oh,
it
that's
out. I
so
kept
cool.
having the instructor tell me, and Michael's like, Mom, there's a whole rhythm to the ocean. I mean, we've been at the ocean our whole lives. How do you
Oh,
not know this yet? He was baffled that I could not figure out the rhythm to the ocean. But hey,
oh, that's awesome.
they have their talents, I have mine, and surfing is not one of my talents.
Oh my gosh, I haven't tried. I hope to try someday. So sounds
So
great.
now we talked about the
Mhm.
cane and independence and mobility. What about
Sure.
literacy? Are you Braille, audio, a mixture?
So, because of today's technology innovation, I use an iPad and an iPhone with VoiceOver, and that's amazing what technology is bringing to everyone, and it's just amazing what the world is opening up today. So I would just say making sure that we keep that innovation is really important because technology is awesome. So I'd
Now,
say
did you
mostly
learn
technology.
Braille in elementary school?
I did as a child, yeah,
Yeah,
but because, like I said, of technology, I don't see the need for it anymore.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And that's my big thing is that the young kids learn Braille. So they learn the language, learn, spelling and all the grammar and everything, and
yeah.
then move into audio later, which is actually why I didn't even produce the book in audio yet, because I wanted to make
Oh
sure that
wow,
all the Braille got done, and then the audio is going to come out over the summer. Now, did you
that's
go to
awesome.
did you go to a school for the blind, or public school or private school growing up?
So I went to public school. I moved around a lot as a kid. I did go to public school. I've always wanted to go to private school, so I'd try like as a musician to get in. I tried to get in the Interlochen, and I tried everything because I thought it was so cool. But yeah, so some good years, some bad years. It was just a mix depending on where I was living at the time.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I am the forever optimist and I always talk about all the bright side and I can tell from you that you're the same way looking on the positive. But what in
Mhm.
terms of for the families and teachers that are working with blind children that are listening, what are some of the challenges that you've come across and then maybe how you either worked around it or some of the challenges we've had to just leave them there and go try something else. We just could not figure it out. But how about on your journey?
Sure. So because I was raised with having complete vision loss, I've never really it's always been a part of my life.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna be real here and say that is a tough question. We're not actually supposed to say that, but that is I don't know how to answer that. I'm gonna be honest because to me, my inspiration is Governor Greg Abbott, and because he says our lives are not defined by our challenges, but how we face those challenges. So I've never, if I see a challenge, I'm like, hey, this isn't a challenge because I'm going to defeat it. So that's a tough one. I would say Some of the school systems, maybe that was a little harder, but my mom, she always did everything she could to fight for me to make sure
Cool.
that I got the opportunity. Marching band could have, was a little bit of a challenge, but I just worked around it. She dropped me off for rehearsal, and there we go. So it was just working around things,
It's
really.
so cool. How about with your
Thank
coworkers?
you.
So I'm imagining at the, campaign offices and in your regular office, all the work that you do and working with so many different people. How are you, like for instance, when I was sending the emails for this interview and the questions, how does that
Mhm.
work between you and your coworkers?
Sure. So I have an amazing campaign team, and they're actually all remote right now. So we actually just communicate mostly by Facebook Messenger and by video chat. So it's really awesome.
That is really cool. You
Yeah,
don't have to worry about printing things out or
right.
anything like that.
It's all electronic, and I would have to say the political, world is so accepting because we're all working toward the same goal. So I've always been treated the same in my experience. It's been an amazing experience so far.
I love that you just said the political world is so accepting.
It
You have
is.
such an incredible experience and you have such an incredible outlook and the way that you
Thank
share all
you.
of that with us because so many people would probably not say that statement.
I
It's
know, and
fantastic.
thank you. Well, I love that I'm expected to work. I went to a training school for candidates called the Leadership Institute. And basically, at first it was scary because they put me in a dorm. Here, live with all the other candidates. Here you go. Just drop you off. And I had to learn how to work with the other candidates to tell them, here's what I need. And then we got really close by the end of the week of the course. And so they expect you to work just as hard, at least on my part of politics. They
Hmm.
expect me to work just as hard. I'm not treated any differently. I'm not expected to know, less than anybody. I'm expected to work just as hard or even harder. And I say, people ask me, what are the challenges of running for office? I say, I have to plan a little more and I
Hmm.
have to work a lot harder than someone that can just get in their car and go door to door. But every effort is worth it in this race because I know that in the end, I'll be the best representative for my constituents because I'm going to listen to them. I'm truly going to listen and be there for them.
That is so great. I love that
Thank
you
you.
just said all of that because this is why I love it so much. I mean, I'm loving everything you're saying.
Thank
But I
you.
really like that part because as a mom of two blind kids that are teenagers, like I said, one's in college and one is still in high school, years ago, that was one of my biggest, what do you call it? Not necessarily fear, but I was nervous about how are they going to how are other people going to react to them in terms of in the
Sure.
high school, in the college? Michael went out to a leadership thing through this Hobie group when he was a sophomore in the summer, and he had to travel to first to Villanova, and then he made it into the international one and went out to Chicago on his own. But he had to
That's awesome.
navigate with 200 kids and then 400 kids all living in dorms and exactly what you just said. And he said the same thing when he came back. Everybody was happy to either assist or just get to know him, and then and
Absolutely.
everybody figures it out really quick when he needs help, doesn't need help, he'll
Yeah.
ask or just do it on his own. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I didn't even realize we were going to get out of this episode, but it's one of the biggest things that I think that the world needs to know is that people are very kind and accepting and want to get along and
Mhm.
help each other. I think
Absolutely.
that there's a lot more people in the world like that than what you typically hear about. And so
Right.
that all of us moms sitting there so nervous, how is our kid going to deal with being in dorms and how are the other kids going to react? And everybody really just makes it work. That's what they want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so great that you confirm that in the working world, especially in the political world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I mean, and not every, people might have different results because, there's different sides of the aisle and I can't speak for the other side. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love what I'm doing.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
It's so cool that you're doing that and giving back. I was just talking with somebody about I had known a family, I had known two, it's in my book, the first family that I met that I did not want to be like. they had an older daughter that was blind, and she was like just miserable and mean. And
Oh,
I knew after a while I could figure out that they allowed her to do that and be served her whole life and was never taught
oh,
to
yeah.
serve, you
Oh
know?
no.
And then later on, I had met a young boy that was the same. And it's exactly what you're talking about. The families had never, even with sighted kids, when they're not taught to serve ever and always be served, they're the kinds of people
Right.
I don't connect with and don't want to spend my time with. But I
Yeah.
was always taught to where, to whom, what is it? To whom much is given, much is expected, and you give back. And my family was always
Absolutely.
volunteering. And then you can see how positive you are in your life, and everybody tells me I'm like overflowing with positivity, but I think a lot of it comes from service.
I know. I get that a lot too. How can you be so positive? But it's just because I've been through so many different situations that I'm so lucky to be here. So just things that will come up that, wow, I went through that challenge, but I'm so thankful to be here right now. So it gives me I'm glad that I can see life through this perspective.
That's fantastic. I can't even
Thank
believe
you.
that we have to wrap this up soon because we did start talking before we even recorded. I'm like, wait, both of us kept saying, hold on, we're going to wait until we could talk about that when we hit record. I want to make sure that we specifically say that your blindness was retinopathy of prematurity, right?
That's correct. But I want to make sure that all the young people know that your diagnosis does not have to define you as a person. So never let your diagnosis, deter you from doing anything. Never let it determine your path in life.
That's fantastic. And what would you
Thank you.
say to parents raising blind children out there? If you could give them, if somebody was to call you and say, I need some advice to move forward, what would that be?
Sure. I would just say treat your child no differently than a child that can see. Let them explore, let them fail, let them succeed, and don't be so worried. I think one of the things that happens is we are so sometimes grouped into our different communities, and we say, well, if this happens, this goes wrong, we're going to make the quote blind community look bad. You're not a community, you're an individual. So I would just say treat them as an individual, treat them as a regular person.
And I love that you included in there and let them fail. I think that's what
Yes.
holds parents back so much at, oh
Yes.
God, they're going to fail. All kids,
Yes.
let them fail. Let them
Absolutely.
figure
That's
it
one of my
out.
greatest Yep, that's one of my greatest lessons is things that maybe didn't work out, and then I realized, hey, maybe that wasn't meant to be. Some things just aren't meant to be, and you learn from the experience.
Yeah.
Um, I know as a candidate, I have some of the greatest mentors that I look back and I go, oh, they were so hard with me. Mr. Rory McShane is one of my most amazing mentors, and he's only known in the political world. So, but he's amazing. And back in the day, he was really hard with me. He was really firm with me on something. And then I look back and it's like, wow, he didn't treat me any differently than
Hmm.
any other candidate. So I look back and I'm like, man, I'm so proud. So inspired by that man.
That's
So
so
just people that
fantastic.
yeah, just people that treat you, give you that time to mentor you, and expect the same things or more out of you than anyone else. Those are the best kind of people to be around.
I love it. I absolutely love
Thank
it. I have
you.
been, my cheeks are hurting I've been smiling this entire video. It's just so fantastic to talk with somebody with such a great positive energy that comes through. And I can, I would want to be on your campaign team and spend time
Thank
with
you.
you watching how you go about life and accept all the challenges and then be out there serving. It's really cool, and I can't wait to follow your journey, and I'm sure that
Thank
so
you.
many people here are going to follow it too, to see all the good things you accomplish. And speaking of that, where can everybody find you?
Absolutely. So we have a campaign website, a Facebook page, a Twitter account. Just look up Alexandria Knox for state representative, and you will find us all there. My team does an amazing job keeping up with all the social media and the Facebook and the website. So we try to update once a week, and then as the campaign gets into 2020, we'll be updating a lot more.
Fantastic. Well, good luck in the campaign. I know you're going to do
Thank you.
amazing and
Thank
continue
you.
doing amazing things. And thank you so much for all the positivity that you put in the world, all the
Absolutely.
service that you do for your communities, and just
Thank
being
you.
a rock star person. It's been great having you here today.
Thank excited. We're going to challenge this incumbent, and I know we're going to do awesome. So thank you, thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, you heard everywhere that you can find Alex Knox, and I will include that in the notes and the links on all the posts. And if you're listening to this later when it's a YouTube and podcast and all the good things that are happening, you'll see it in show notes, and we cannot wait. And we'll give updates as Alex does really cool things. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.